Good morning, everybody. It's been a long time since I've done a post. It is Friday morning, June 26th. We got a nice little rain shower going on out here. It has been a while, like I said, since I've done a post, and I just wanted to catch you guys up on what's been going on. So back on June 17th, I had a total ankle replacement done. So I've been laid up because of the ankle replacement. It looks like I'm going to be laid up for about 10 more weeks. Anyway, the ankle replacement journey has been kind of interesting. It actually started back in January, and the plan back in January was to have the surgery done in March. But we ran into a couple complications. First of all, way back when I broke my leg 20 years ago, they put metal rods and pins and everything in the leg. And 6 months after the surgery, the swelling on my lower leg never got smaller than my thighs. And you know, you're right above your ankle is probably the skinniest part of your leg, and it stayed swollen like it was on the thighs. So the surgeons at that time determined I must have had some type of allergy to the metal that was in the leg, and had a second surgery back then to take all the metal out. Well, fast forward to January, when we discovered that I needed to have a total ankle replacement, and I told the doctors what had happened way back then. They sent me in for allergy testing. It turns out I'm allergic to nickel and titanium. Well, all the metal joint replacements are all made out of either stainless steel, which nickel is a component of stainless steel, or they're made out of titanium. So all the ankle replacements that were out there it was all off the table, and we didn't know what to do. I went and saw a second surgeon to get another opinion from them about what can be done, and same thing. He was one of the top surgeons in Louisville, and he said there really isn't much that can be done with those allergies. So my options at that point were either be permanently in a brace or amputation. And of course, neither one of those was any good, especially we're active people and we like to travel and we like to, like go to Savannah and spend all day long walking all over town and all that. So it's just wasn't an option. I'm at the point in my life where, we're ready to start doing all that traveling. We've got the kids all gone and all that. And it's just that time. So that wasn't an option. So I started doing some research trying to find out if there are any alternatives out there. And I came across a research study from 2 years ago on a product that was 3D printed out of a material called Polyether Ketone Ketone. And it was interesting. It was the first person that had an ankle replacement made out of that product. Of course, it was all experimental and everything. So it got me taking a deep dive into what Polyether Ketone Ketone is. And I discovered that it is a polymer that is used in the space program because it has an extremely high melting point and is impervious to radiation. And it's a product that NASA is looking at when they build the space station on the moon, to put these printers, 3D printers there, to be able to print replacement parts for a spacecraft from right there on the moon. They already use it in the rocket engines. So it's a product that's been around for quite a while. And doing more research, I discovered that 20 years ago, they started using it to 3D print replacement bones for people that have bone cancers. Oh, okay, this is interesting. It has the same tensile strength as regular bone, and one of the problems you have with the stainless steel or the titanium is there's a relatively large risk of infection at later points in life, because the body puts some type of biofilm over the metal because it recognizes it's a foreign material. and that biofilm can get infected. So that's the downfall on traditional metal joints that they use all the time. So they started using this in knee replacement and hip replacement some years ago, and then 2 years ago they did the first ankle with it. Now, there's only been, in the last 2 years, a couple dozen ankles done with this material. So it's still fairly new, and none have ever been done in Louisville. So I went to the second doctor. I started with him first because he was one of the top ankle doctors in Louisville, and gave him the information on it. And he didn't want to do the surgery because he wasn't familiar with the material. So then I called the manufacturer and actually spoke with the vice president of the company and found out that the procedure is identical to the most common procedure that's done with metal. So the surgery part has no difference whatsoever in the way the surgery is done than one of the most common titanium ankle replacement surgeries are. So then I took that information to the original doctor I went to, the one that told me I had to have the ankle replacement, and presented it to him. And what I found out when I presented it to him is the manufacturer had already called him too. So they'd already been talking about it. And he had already sent off my CT scan of the ankle to the manufacturer, and they were already working on printing the replacement. Of course, then you had insurance company wanted to deny that I needed the surgery, so I had to go through all that. They wanted me on 6 months of physical therapy and wearing a brace and all these other things before they would do the surgery. We finally got around all that because of my titanium allergy. It finally got approved. And needless to say, what should have been done in March finally got done in June. So that's where I am now. I'm looking at about 10 weeks of recovery. Well, 12 weeks altogether, but it's been a week and a half already. For the most part, the pain hasn't been too bad. The last couple nights have been rough. Been getting a lot of very sharp stabbing pain in the heel. And from what I understand, that type of pain, it comes and goes, is where it's because the body is repairing the nerves that were damaged during the surgery. And as the body repairs those nerves, you get that burning, stabbing pain. So I don't have any real pain in the ankle, or at least no more than what I had prior to surgery. Ibuprofen, for the most part, has been taking care of the pain, so that's been good. I am really getting tired of being confined. Any of you guys that know me, I'm a person that's always going. If I'm home, I'm out in the yard tinkering. I've got a garden I've got going, and it's been really tough using a knee scooter and not being as mobile as I used to be. So I can't wait till I get to the point where I can actually start moving around and doing a little bit more. But sitting out here in this rain and listening to this rain and smelling this fresh air has been very relaxing this morning. So that's where I am right now. I've got some other things that are cooking in the background right now, as far as some things I'm working on my business side, Pharmacist Keith. I'm going to start doing more on my blogs again, and I just got some things that just stay tuned there. Probably within the next week I'll be launching all that information. I also wrote a book. I was in the process of writing the book back in January, a Catholic faith book, and I use AI to do a lot of the research on it. And there's actually an AI that is Catholic based. It's called Truthfully AI. So I'm going through that and developing. You have to develop a persona So it has to learn about you in order to help you write the way that you talk and the way that you think. So in the process of doing that, it's asking all these questions about me and about my past and all that. And I had mentioned in passing that I was going to be going through this surgery, and this Catholic AI said, hold on, we need to step back a minute. You need to put this book on the side and not write this book right now. You need to write a book to your grandchildren. And it's like, what? I need to write a book to my grandchildren. And that's what I did. It goes through the entire family history, all the way back to a Viking in 911, 912, named Rollo. He was the first Viking that was baptized Catholic. He became the Duke of Normandy, and he's in my ancestral line. I discovered in doing this book for my kids that the Normans came over. Well, first of all, Rollo and the Normans in those first couple hundred years, 900, 1,000, 1,100, they built cathedrals and churches all over Europe. They were with William the Conqueror when he came over to England. In fact, there is a knight that fought under William the Conqueror whose last name was Abel. That's the first recording of the actual Abel name. So that's an ancestor. Come to find out that those same descendants of Rollo and descendants of the Abels fought in the Crusades. And King Fulk V, I think it was 4th, 5th, married a woman that is in a direct line from my ancestors. And she became the queen. And he was the king of Israel back during the Crusades. In fact, that fort that the Israelis recently took, I think it was in Syria, the fort that's up on the hill that the Hezbollah had been using, was built by King Fulk. So that was interesting. Come to find out, I actually found this out back when my father passed away, but there is a Catholic priest that was drawn, quartered, he was beheaded, then drawn and quartered by King Henry VIII because he refused to grant the Queen an annulment. So he wrote a book called Invictus Veritas, the Unbroken Truth or something like that. But he wrote a book. He was put in the Tower of England for years, and then he was executed because he would not change and would not bend to the ways that the king wanted, so he can divorce the queen. Find out he's in my family line. And this is all because I'm doing the research for this book for the grandkids, but I'm finding these things out. Traced the Abel family from there to America. They came early in the 1600s. Then the same Abel families that came to America in the 1600s, less than 100 years later, came to Kentucky. So, they were the first settlers of Kentucky, and this happened right around the same time as the American Revolution. In fact, one of the ancestors fought in the American Revolution that came to Kentucky. So they all settled in the Bardstown, the Nelson County, Marion County, that area, Bardstown, Lebanon, that area. One of the first settlers, his name was Robert Abel. His son was the first Catholic priest that came out of the United States, or maybe not out of the United States, but came out of the Kentucky frontier. When I was visiting Bardstown with my son Kyle, when he was in Boy Scouts, there's a trail that the Archdiocese does. It's a camping weekend. It's called the Flagey Trail. And they visit different areas of Kentucky where Bishop Flagey worked or set up churches or whatever. So you're visiting all these different places from Bishop Flagey. And this particular visit was at a church called St. Thomas. So I'm talking to the priest at St. Thomas, and he goes, "Hold on, your name's Abel? I got to show you something. Come with me." Well, there's a log cabin on the property, and that priest had been restoring the log cabin back to the way it was. So he pulled all the drywall out of it and all that, and he showed me this Psalter, Book of Psalms. And it was inside the wall, behind the drywall, when he pulled it out. So he lays this Book of Psalms in my hands and tells me to open up the front cover. And there was an inscription in there from Robert Abel to Bishop Flagey. The Psalter was a gift to Bishop Flagey from my ancestor, direct ancestor, Robert Abel, the father of the priest, Robert Abel. I tell you what, when that Psalter hit my hand, I felt lightning go through my body. It was just amazing. So here I've now discovered my family goes back all the way to this night, all the way to this Viking. And it's just this long, unbroken line of Catholics all these years. So I actually wrote a book. Started out just being some things about personal things that I've gone through and all that in my faith journey. And then added all this other information. I kept researching and finding. Ends up being a 300-page book. It's now published on Amazon. And it's available there. It's this one's called Invicta Veritas, The Unbroken Chain. So that's something else I did. I actually finished it right before the surgery and had it printed and gave it to the kids prior to the surgery. I guess, God was prompting me to get this done just in case something happened. So I did it. And now I'm on fire to get this other book, the original book, written. And that's something I've been working on while I've been off. So it's been interesting. Like I said, I got several projects in the works right now. I've got my Born Catholic website, blog website. I have the book I'm working on, and I've got some business launch that I'm working on. And I just can't wait to share all of it with you. I'll let you guys know when the new book is out. If you go to my Facebook page, you can find links to the current one. But that's it. That's where it stands. It's like I need to shave, but you know what? I'm off work. I don't care. I hope you guys enjoy it. I hope you guys enjoy the weather we have. It's been a nice spring, early summer so far. I know up in Indiana we've had some really severe weather, and my prayers are out for you guys. But hope you guys are enjoying life. Life is too short. I'm 65 years old now, and just coming up to this surgery, a lot of thinking has happened, and a lot of things I want to change in the way life is going. Because again, life is too short. I've got so much stuff I want to share with folks, and so many things I'm passionate about, and you're going to see a whole lot more of me in the very near future. So hopefully I launch this. My plan is to launch things on Monday. We'll see how things go. Just depends on the foot and the pain and how that's going. Kind of slowed me down the last couple of days, but we'll see. We'll get there. See you guys on a future post.